tell me where you were born and raised. Tell me where you grew up.
Well, my dad worked on the railroad, and he was stationed at the time in Sycamore, Illinois, which is about just a little bit west of Chicago. So that's where I was born. And my brother was born there also. And then after a certain length of time, I don't know how long, he was transferred to Dodge Center, Minnesota. And so he worked with the railroad there. It was the Chicago Great Western, which I think has been pulled into other larger corporate entities. So, and it was there in that town that he became very sick, and then when I was 4 years old, I watched him take his last breaths in our house, and after that, my mother moved back. After he passed away, my mother moved back to their hometown, McIntyre, Iowa, where she had family, and of course she had grown up there. She grew up in the church there. And so I started school the following fall, and I started there in the McIntyre Public Schools. And I went through the McIntyre school system until they consolidated, and I went my last 2 years of high school to Riceville, Iowa. Now, both of them are still on some maps. They're little country towns.
In the southeastern part of Iowa?
In the northeastern part of Iowa, just south of the state line. Dodge Center is close to Rochester, and McIntyre is just south of the state line.
So then you graduated from
Riceville High School.
What happened after that? Did you go to Luther College? Or?
No, I went to Sioux Falls College, what is now University of Sioux Falls, and it was the right place for me. I majored in instrumental music and graduated with my bachelor's degree in instrumental music, and then I taught junior high and senior high band and choir in Little Rock, Iowa for 2 years. Then I came to Worthington, and that's when I made the switch from band and choir to orchestra. Now, the thing of it is, I always wanted to play the violin, but it was in a small town. You had to drive someplace, and in the financial situation that I grew up in, it just wasn't an option. So I played in band, sung in choir, and that's what I did through college. But then it was a time, and we're entering that time again right now, where band and choir teachers, piano teachers even, can take courses and become certified in string pedagogy, which is the teaching of the stringed instruments. And that's what I did. I went 2 years to University of Northern Colorado and took private lessons and string pedagogy classes. And then during the school year, I went to night classes at Mankato. And I eventually got my master's degree in string pedagogy and orchestral program development from Mankato.
So tell me then, how old were you when you first started playing a string instrument?
I was an adult, Kelly.
I did not know that. I never would have known that. And I'm sure no one else knows that or would guess that either. So you took classes as part of a certification, is that correct?
Yes.
In the strings?
Yes.
So, okay, where are we at in the years now? Where are we at? What year would this be now when you're...
Early 70s.
Okay. And so you came and talk about your teaching career here in Worthington.
Okay, I taught for 2 years in Little Rock, Iowa, from 66 to 68, back in the previous century. And then in the fall of 68, I came to Worthington and started this incredible adventure. And I had been here teaching in the school system for about 2 weeks and drove to Mankato. Had never been to that part of Minnesota in my life. Had no idea where I was going, but I found my class. And so I started there, began night classes, and went to summer school. I taught summer school the first 6 weeks here in the summer program. Then the second 6 weeks, I went to Colorado and went to school, and then I had one weekend and I came back and started the school year. But I had my goals. I knew what I wanted, and when you have goals like that, the only things that is stopping you is how hard do you want to work to get it. And if you want to work your tail off, there's nothing you can't do. The only real failure in this life is not bothering to do the work. I'm preaching to the choir here. So you guys are working, and it's summer.
So then you did all that. Let's talk about where you were in your personal life at that time. So you came to Worthington as a single teacher.
There were lots of single teachers here. We had a good time. We really were a supportive group of each other. We really were, which was good, because we all needed it. And we had so many teachers on the staff that would guide us. One of the best mentors to every young single teacher was Bob Snyder, and he taught Phi Ed. And we would all go to a staff meeting, and then he would catch us in the hallway the next day. Now, this is what was said, but this is what he meant, but this is what you got to do. So he saved us.
He broke it down for you.
He broke it down, which was good. We eventually caught on, of course, all of us, but he got us going in the right direction. So there were many. Chuck Kerberg was another one. Oh gosh, there were so many. And we were all brand new, to the flock, and so many wonderful mentor teachers.
Now, was there an established orchestra program at that time, or?
There had been an orchestra program. It was older, going way back. It's older than the band program. But at that point in time, because they couldn't find a teacher, they had been without a teacher for 1.5 to 2 years. And so they told me right up front, this is what you're dealing with, and let us know what you need. We're going to be here to support you because we want this program. And I thought that Cheryl Held hired me because I had a pulse. I don't know, and I was willing to do it. I don't know. He was such a wonderful mentor, again, to all young teachers. He was also a teacher before he went into administration, and so he had been down that path and through that fire, and told us, the only tough thing about your first year of teaching is you only have to do it once, which was supposed to be comforting, but.
So what do you do with a program that hasn't had anybody leading it in 1.5 years?
Well, the first thing you do is you go to the people who were in it before. And those people, now there were 2 people left in high school that had played. That was Luann Hudson and Margaret Timms. And they were 2 violinists, and they were wonderful. They were wonderful. And then I had about 8, 9 kids in like 7th, 8th grade. And that's all there were, because the kids who had played 1 or 2 years had moved on. And you can understand when the teacher's been missing and the program has not been functional. Do I really want to invest my time? Do I want to invest in buying an instrument? So you got to prove yourself that, yeah, I'm here to stay, and I'm dead serious here. This is all business, and it's the business of giving kids music and giving them something that, if they choose to, can be a comfort to them their entire life. Because that's what music does. Music is the language of God. And so anytime you sing in a choir, you play in a group, it's worshipful. Some music, we have to admit now, is more worshipful than others. But to begin with, music was the language of God.
So how did you inspire students to feel that in a program that had, for all intents and purposes, fallen off and needed to be revived?
The first thing I did was I went to high school, because the younger kids, when you have a program like the all-school orchestra program, they look to see who's been here and done this. So I started at the high school level with Luann and Margaret, And we met, I even had to establish a schedule, which wasn't easy. Scheduling has always been a problem, as you well know, and it's certainly no easier today. And so we established a time during the school day, and the teachers at that time it was Bill Hammer and Glenn Evenson. We're very anxious to have the program become reestablished and reinstated, so I could take Margaret and Luann a few days a week and just work with them. We didn't do any concerts that fall or anything. We did start doing a few things. We did go to contests, and I also then established, with the help of Chuck Kerberg and Chessie Wheeler and Ginger Selberg and all of my mentors at that level in the junior high, as it was at that time, and they were very helpful and supportive of allowing me to take those students from their classes for a certain period of time, and we just got going, and we just started from where they had left off, and started just reviewing and refreshing and everything, and from there then I went down to the elementary grades and say, do you know Cindy? Do you know Kathy? Do you know Margaret? They play the violin, So it was a slow and tedious process, and you have to build up a lot more than just the program. The program is made from kids, and without the support of parents, that's not going to happen. So there was a lot of communication, calling parents at all levels and saying, we want to get this going. I've been hired full-time by the district, and I'm dead level serious about this, and we want to reestablish and grow this program. So and things like that don't happen the first year. And it takes 2, 3, 4, and 5 years before you have really almost a shred of an elementary program. It takes time, because you have to reestablish confidence with the public, with the administration, with the school board, with the parents, and with the kids. Okay, I start now, so are you going to be here next year? So it's a long process,
It sounds like any naysayers didn't know that you meant business. And you got it done, because look at the program now.
Well, and the thing of it is, there were naysayers, and there were naysayers in the administration, and there were naysayers on the school board. And probably one of my biggest human frailties is that I don't take that without responding. I'll just say that. And that can be helpful, but not always. But I refuse to be talked down. I just simply, that's not where I was headed, and nobody was going to lead me there.
Let's talk about what you built over the years. I mean, the orchestra program is a wonderful program, and you just, you've retired from it now, but tell me about the years when things started looking up. How did that all go? So it's a process, and it takes time. And my point in establishing the all-school orchestra program was so that the parents and the public could see the growth from year to year, and it doesn't happen in big leaps and bounds. And maybe in a big city school it would, maybe not. But in our area, it takes time. And all of this time, I was still going to night classes. I was still taking lessons. I was playing in the Mankato, the State University Orchestra. And so I would come home and get some sleep and then go back up, because I wanted a master's program where I could enhance what I was doing every day. And they said, well, we don't really have anything like that, Beth. Why don't you just write something up and then we'll take a look at it? So I did,
and it has to be approved by the department chair, and then by the graduate dean, and then by the board of trustees of the university. So they said, sure, go ahead. So I just then followed what I said. That's what I wanted, that's what I needed. And so I actually wrote my thesis for my master's degree on the progress of the program. And of course, everything you say has to be verified. So that all happened, and we got into the mid and late 70s, and you weren't here yet, Kelly, but we had the state legislature was cutting public education funds left and right. And one of the first programs in so many school districts was the orchestra program. And I thought, no, I will not take that lying down. They are not going to talk me into that. There is no way I'm going to accept that, because the kids have worked too hard. Whatever you bring to it, as you know, the classroom, the kids pick up on that. And if you've got enthusiasm and we're going to do this, they're going to do that. And so we went through that. It was years and years, but the kids and the parents, and there were cuts in the program, so then you take a few steps backwards. So it wasn't just one big, wonderful, lovely field of blooming string players that happened, We would get cut back, and then it would be reinstated. The budgets are a little better. And so then, you thought, 2 or 3 years later, it was the same thing all over again, and the program had grown a little bit. So then we had public hearings, and you had to have parents verify, yes, we need this program, we want this program. We've come too far, we've got too much invested in it, not just monetarily, but education-wise. And so we finally got through that, and it happened. I think they cut 4th grade orchestra 4 or 5 times. But then I kept going with 5th grade, and I had what I will call now a bootleg 4th grade orchestra, which I wasn't supposed to be doing, but I did after school. And so it was a long road, but we finally got to the point I had 135 kids in the program. And for those times, that was just excellent. And for all the programs that were cut during that time in the state of Minnesota, not one of them has come back. Not one. And the community has tried. They've had through community ed and so on, but not one of those programs have come back. And then to have Melanie come back, move to Worthington, I mean, what a gift she is. What a gift. The district now that we have, District 518, is a whole completely new, different district from what I was teaching. I haven't done any subbing, Kelly, and everything is so different. I can still, the notes fortunately haven't changed, but the process of getting music and thank you, Jesus, I never had to teach during anything like COVID. Teachers and kids, that was so hard. And I don't know how any of you really came through it and felt that progress was truly, truly made in a positive, measurable way. And I think we are going to be dealing with that now until last year's kindergarten class graduates from high school.
You're right.
You can cut all of that out
No,
there.
no,
I
no,
got
I
carried
get it.
away.
No, I think this is an important point, because even in the time that I've been here, and I can't remember specifically, it's been a long time, 30 years, but why is it always the arts that they just talk? Can you talk about that? It's always that.
It's always the arts, and that is happening right now again. At the public school level, at the private school level, at the university level. It's the arts that are being thrown under the bus. And yet when teaching now is so hard. It is such hard work. So much is demanded before you even get into the classroom. Teachers are being asked to do some of the child care to make sure they have warm clothes and warm mittens, and that they have food over the weekend. And that is now being laid at the feet of the teachers. And teachers don't go into teaching because they're hard-hearted people. Teachers wear their hearts on their sleeves. And then they just keep on doing it. And it gets harder and harder. And you just keep on doing it. Because it has to be done.
Right.
Because you don't teach music, and you don't teach technical things, and you don't teach history or writing. You teach people. That's the bottom line.
And music is, I mean, it's all been proven what music does to the mind.
To the mind, it's vital in brain development, even prenatal. My mama told me, obviously I don't remember, but she said she and my dad took me to church when I was 3 weeks old, and I was kind of fussing and whatever, And she said the minute the pipe organ started to play, I was instantly still, and I was looking around trying to find where that sound was coming from. Now, I hope that experience started the cells moving in my brain. I don't know. Don't put that in. Don't put that in.
You're doing so great. This is so great. What do you think it is about you or the way you were raised that gave you that I'll do it mentality? I'll get it done.
That chutzpah?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's my word. That's my word, chutzpah. Well, I tell you, my beginnings on this planet were very, very humble. And I was blessed beyond words to have my mama. But seeing my daddy die when I was 4 years old, I wasn't supposed to see it. My mom was in such a state of mourning, and my aunt and uncle were there. My little brother was off playing with the boy cousins. They had no clue what the heck was going on. But I innately knew that soon my daddy was so sick that he was going to go be with Jesus. I knew that. I never heard anyone say that to me. I don't know. But my mom, as many women of that age, was not prepared to live on her own. She did remarry, and we moved into my stepfather's house, and lived right across the street from the school, and I could hardly wait to go to school. I just loved it. And I remember when I first realized that I knew how to read. It was a light bulb moment in my little kindergarten life that I didn't know all the words, but I knew how to read. And the world just opened, and I thought, I assumed everybody had that. Well, I learned as time went on that not everybody did. And there were times when, we rationed out the food, and we didn't have ice cream very much. And I had a cousin who gave me clothes. She didn't like me, but her mother gave me her clothes. And so, as I got to school, I know my mother took out a loan to buy my first band instrument, which was a saxophone. And that was my major instrument through college. And I don't know, she took it out because she did that because she knew how much I wanted to be in music. And I know she gave up things to do that. I didn't realize it at the time, but I realized the one key, maybe it goes back to my kindergarten moment when I knew how to read and I knew how to spell Christmas. And I thought, the one way to make a better life, you have to do it yourself. You have family to support you and help you, but you have got to work your tail off. And so I went to Sioux Falls College. I worked my way through. I paid my way through. I often told my mom, she prayed my way through and I paid my way through. But it's true. And I just thought, I know what life is like when you don't have that education. Education is the key. There is no other way. You can't depend on other, unless you are children of Bill Gates or, but come on. Even he's not giving his children everything he's earned. You have to work, and you have to depend, you have to pray. Like everything depends on prayer, and you have to work. And communicate with God at the same time, but to work. Like everything depends on work, because he depends on both. And that's, I think, where it came from, because I knew the life my mother had had, and it was very difficult. And I knew the life that other people have had, and they did not choose to go on because they didn't have any money. I didn't have anything either. But you go and you work and you study and you practice and you go to class and you work and you study and you practice and you go to class and you work. One of my favorite 4-letter words is W-O-R-K. If you want it, work for it. Don't go around thinking, gee, I wonder who I can, talk into getting that for me. Go get it yourself. If you don't earn it yourself, you don't own it.
You have done so much for the community. Can you talk about what being a part of the Worthington community means to you?
Well, Worthington is home now. Worthington has been my home for many, many years. Even before I met Don, there are so many incredible, wonderful people in this town. There are so many people who do so much. They never say a word. They contribute their time, they contribute their energy, they contribute their compassion, and never say a word to anybody. It's the most amazing community. And the people, the community is loaded with people like that. And so to be in this community when Don was so sick and when he passed away, I was overwhelmed with the care and concern. I never expected that. And his family was well established here. But his parents by that time had deceased, preceded him in death. And I was just completely overwhelmed. And I thought, again, the only way you can't pay that back. The only thing you can do is pay it forward. And that's how I see it, to a community who has provided so much for me. What little I can be involved in or help with is still a smidgen compared to what this community has provided for me.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Worthington Area Symphony Organization. Tell me how that all came about and how you brought that to help bring that to the community.
Well, first of all, this has always been a team effort. This has always been a team effort. And it all started in the Presbyterian Church. I learned just recently that the Presbyterian Church claims ownership to the Great Plains String Quartet. Now, I didn't know that. And it all started with a project. Their minister challenged the congregation to do a project that would praise God and contribute to the community at the same time. So some of them got together. They were very musically inclined. They're also orchestra parents. And they said, let's do a performance of the Messiah. So I know they called Melanie, because Don had just passed away and we both had just retired, and it was, I think, Melanie's first year here. And they called Melanie, they called me, they called Linda Lang, and they said, they explained the project, and they said, we want to do a performance on a Sunday afternoon in December of the Messiah. And we all thought it was a great idea. And they said, now you know these people. Can you help us Well, of course, we all said yes. So Linda worked on the, getting the vocalist and the soloist, and we had a community church choir, all volunteer, and we had Melanie and I worked on, all of the string players that we knew, students, adults, and so we pulled those together. We started having rehearsals. And I think we started having rehearsals. We got the music out to the people, and we started having rehearsals. And we're going, November, we started having rehearsals together. And by golly, we did it. It was a wonderful experience. Everybody, the singers, the instrumentalists, soloists, we just had a wonderful time. It was we had a full church. It was a wonderful blessing to everybody who came, and especially to the people who were in it. And so there were some of us in that orchestra that said, this has been so great. We need to get together and keep on playing something, anything, And so out of that came those who were willing to make a commitment, long-term commitment, were, besides me, Karen Pfeiffer on viola, Sue Simonson on cello, and of course Melanie. That's where the string quartet evolved from. So I love the fact that they claim us. I that just makes me feel so happy. I love it. And so we started playing. We started playing at, we played a fundraiser at the college. We played we played churches. And by the way, we still play at churches. We love being invited to churches. There's no charge for having us play at church because we all have a strong faith and we all worship too. So we got started that way, and we thought, there's a community orchestra in Sioux Falls and it meets on Sunday night. And we thought, well, hey, let's go. So the four of us, we take turns driving, and we just had an absolute blast. We ate and talked all the way over, and we ate and talked all the way back, and we did that, had a great time. We had our performances then on stage at the Pavilion in Sioux Falls, and we got this bright idea. These people are all community people. We know people at home. Why don't we just, start our own orchestra? We had absolutely no clue what the heck we were doing. But we did it. And thanks to people and encouragement of people who committed to play, and to pastors in our area churches who promoted it, and to Margaret Vosberg, who wrote our first grants for us. We didn't know anything about writing a grant. We do now, but at that time, she was the leader of the pack because, and our first year was a string orchestra because we had to get that foundation started. And Christopher Stanischar, Dr. Christopher Stanischar, who was at that time the new orchestra director at Augustana, said, sure, I'll come over and direct you on Thursday nights. And so that's how we got our start, and we gave our first concerts right here in the sanctuary of the Methodist Church. And so then after that, we spent the spring and summer recruiting wind and percussion players. And so the following year, we changed our name from Worthington Area Orchestra to Worthington Area Symphony Orchestra. And Dr. Stanischar, we're so happy to say, is the musical leader of the pack, and he still likes us, and he still comes to Worthington. He's in Aberdeen now, and teaching there at the university. And we draw people from 3 states, South Dakota, of course Minnesota, and from Iowa. We draw people from as far as north of Mitchell, South Dakota, to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We have people come down from Marshall. We have people drive over from Blue Earth. So we're still writing grants, and we still have Dr. Stanishar, and we're still, we have our fall concert, our holiday concert now. It's the Tuesday, November 1st, 21st, Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And it's Dance Revolution at Memorial Auditorium. And tickets are now on sale at the box office at Memorial Auditorium.
So all of this, all of these things that you've done, and with your strong work ethic and faith, is there, aside from those two things, which are paramount, what else? If there was one thing, a piece of advice, or anything that you could pass along on how to sustain the energy and contributing spirit that you have to the community.
It's faith, it's spirit, it's chutzpah, and you have to believe in the goodness of people. I know we all know there are ringers out there, but we've always had ringers. But the number of good, wonderful people are the quiet ones. Don't ever lose faith in God, because whenever you want good people, you'll find them worshiping God. And if you need some goodness, then go to church. Go to the people that you know are dedicated to something. And as my grandma would always tell me, Beth, you always got a bee in your bonnet about something, which is true. It's attitude. And attitude is a choice. You can choose to work, or you can choose not to. You can only earn the results of your work. It's only for the results of your work that you own what you earn, not what someone else will get for you. If they get it for you, you don't own it. If you want to own it, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and get to work.